Hi, and welcome to Season 2 of That's Ruddy Mysterious, a podcast of short tales about true mysteries. What created the Potomsky Crater? Who was involved in the 1963 Great Train Robbery? I'm not going to solve those mysteries, but they'll be interesting to learn about. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. Transcripts and references for all episodes can be found at that'sruddymysterious.wordpress.com. No apostrophe and no exclamation point. Today's tale is about Emanuela Orlandi. Emanuela Orlandi was 15 years old on June 22, 1983, the day she disappeared in Vatican City. She was the fourth of 5 children, daughter to Ercole and Maria Orlandi. Ercole was an employee of the Vatican. His job was to arrange papal audiences. Some people believe this is why Emanuela disappeared. On that June 22nd day, Emanuela went to her music class in Santi Apollinare complex in Rome. She had asked her brother Pietro to come along with her, but he refused. They argued, and he regrets his refusal to this day. On Emanuela's way to class, she was stopped by a man in a green BMW. This was seen by a traffic warden who didn't think much of it at the time. The man offered Emanuela money to sell Avon products. Avon is a multi-level marketing company that sells cosmetics. This exchange alarmed Emanuela, who called home about it. She spoke with her sister, who told her that she needed to talk to her parents about the exchange. Emanuela arrived at her flute lesson but asked to leave early. She left around 6:50 p.m. Her friends saw Emanuela board the bus to go home and then saw her speaking with a red-headed passenger. Emanuela never made it home. There had been a lot of runaways in Vatican City around the time of Emanuela's disappearance, so at first the police believed that Emanuela too had run away. The family said this was not possible, however, because Emanuela had plans with her sister and for some upcoming recitals. 3 days after Emanuela's disappearance, the family began receiving suspicious phone calls. The first came from a man who called himself Pierluigi. Pierluigi said that his girlfriend saw a girl who looked like Emanuela playing her flute in Campo dei Fiori. The girl called herself Barbara. Barbara was also selling cosmetics with another woman. On July 3, 1983, Pope John Paul II made a public appeal for the return of Emanuela. After a public prayer, John Paul II said, "I'm close to the Orlandi family." The Pope went on to talk about Emanuela at least 7 other times. This led to one theory that he was involved in Emanuela's disappearance. Not long after Emanuela's disappearance, on July 5th, a demand was made for the release of the prisoner, Mehmet El Agca. Agca was a Turkish man who had tried to shoot the Pope in 1981. The caller, who the police nicknamed L'Americano, or the American, due to his American accent, said that Emanuela had been kidnapped to ensure Agca's release. The American then played audio that was supposedly of Emanuela. The American tried to prove his claims by leading the police to a photocopy of Emanuela's music school registration card and by sending a letter containing copies of the music Emanuela had been studying. The American stopped talking on October 27, 1983, but he was not the only person to call and demand Agca's release in exchange for Emanuela. The family also received other calls saying that the callers knew Emanuela's whereabouts. On July 17, 1983, a cassette tape was found near the ANSA News Agency's office. The cassette was a recording of a girl being tortured. Some believed the voice on the recording was Emanuela's, but the police don't believe so. They believe the sounds on the recording are clips from a porn movie. Years later, part of this recording was released, but the agent who found the cassette said the recording was not the same as the one he found. In 2006, Agca was released from prison, but Emanuela was not returned. In 2008, the former mistress of the gangster Enrico Renantino, DePitis, said that DePitis organized Emanuela's kidnapping at the request of American Archbishop Paul C. Marcinicus, who died in 2006. While he was alive, Marcinicus petitioned to have DePitis buried in the Vatican, where he was eventually buried. The traffic warden who had seen Emanuela speaking to a man in a green BMW helped create a sketch of that man, and the sketch resembled DePitis. In 2012, DePitis' grave was exhumed in a search for Emanuela's remains. It was believed that she may have been buried with DePitis. Her remains were not found, however. In 2017, a journalist published a document that had been stolen from the Vatican. The document said that the Vatican knew where Emanuela was. The Vatican, however, called the document false and ridiculous. Pietro Orlandi said that he didn't know about the theories, but that the behavior of the Vatican over the previous 36 years had been secretive and unhelpful. He said that behavior led him to believe that there were leaders within the Vatican that knew what happened to Emanuela. He went on to say, from John Paul II to Ratzinger, Pope Benedict XVI, and Pope Francis, they all know it happened, but due to this being so damaging to the image of the Church, they've been doing all they can to ensure that the truth doesn't come out. On October 29, 2018, 4 workers were renovating an annex in the Vatican's embassy, also known as Nunciature. They uncovered bones underneath the floor. At first, they found a pelvis and part of a skull, but as they continued to dig, smaller bones were found. Some believe these bones were Emanuela's remains. A lawyer for the Orlandi family wondered why, when bones were discovered, Emanuela was the first thought. The remains were taken to be tested and did not match Emanuela. In July of 2019, a letter was sent to the Orlandi family telling them to check the Pontifical Teutonic Cemetery for Emanuela. The letter said to look where the angel is pointing. Based on this, on July 10, 2019, 2 tombs at the Pontifical Teutonic Cemetery were opened. The tombs were supposed to hold the remains of 2 19th century princesses. When they were opened, however, another mystery was discovered. The tombs were empty. What happened to the princesses? Then, on July 19, 2019, thousands of bones from dozens of people were found inside the Pontifical Teutonic College. In October of 2022, Netflix released a 4-part series about Emanuela's disappearance. In 2023, a review of the evidence showed leads that were considered worthy of further investigation. In a Vatican first, Chief Vatican Prosecutor Alessandro Ditti turned over the evidence to the Italian authorities. Through all of the investigation, the only person to be investigated was Monsignor Piero Vergari. He was a former rector of Santi Polo Arari and knew DePitis. He may have worked at the Nunciature following Emanuela's disappearance, although this is in dispute. What happened to Emanuela? There are a lot of theories. Some believe that she was lured away for some sort of satanic sex cult. Others think that the Pope was somehow involved in her disappearance. Those that believe this theory say that Ercole Orlandi had evidence of the Archbishop's wrongdoings, so Marcinicus asked for Emanuela to be kidnapped. Some believe that DePitis' group, the Banda della Molagna, kidnapped Emanuela as a way to restore money lost during the bank crash. Pietro Orlandi believed that Pope Francis knew what happened to Emanuela. He said that Emanuela's bones had been found in the Vatican and that the officials were covering it up. What happened to Emanuela Orlandi? Whose bones were found in the Nunciature? What happened to the remains of the 2 19th century princesses? What do you think? Thanks for listening to today's episode of That's Ruddy Mysterious. I'm your host, Kelly with an I. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a review and follow That's Ruddy Mysterious to be updated about new episodes. Tune in next Tuesday for another thought-provoking tale.